Back on the Young Turks. Now we're going to talk to Ari Melber of The Nation. We're going to talk about whether Obama's screwing up this health care fight and if Democrats and progressives are also screwing it up. Two famed advisors to Barack Obama have come out and launched an attack saying how they're screwing it up. Ari covered that in his piece. Ari, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thank you.
So tell me who these advisors are and what their criticism of Obama and the Democrats were.
This is a big one. You had Marshall Gans, who has been a labor organizer for decades, Cesar Chavez, Howard Dean. He's worked with a great range of people and was an early enthusiastic Obama backer and advisor to the campaign. And Peter Dreyer, who's an urban policy expert, among other things. And these are people with direct lines to senior Obama officials that presumably they've used, but now are going more publicly with an op-ed in the Washington Post on Sunday that really laid out a critique not only of the sometimes middling insider approach to health care reform that we've seen from the White House, you know, talking about Senate procedure and negotiation and little steps as opposed to a larger sweeping moral movement-based argument, but also critiquing much of the progressive infrastructure, you know, calling out some of the netroots groups and labor and others for really taking this sort of insider strategy. Let's buy TV ads, let's worry about Chuck Grassley, rather than trying to get people out in the streets and really create a national momentum for strong progressive health care reform.
All right, you know, let's address that part of it first before we get to Obama. You know, there's a lot of money behind reforming health care, whether it's the labor guys or HCAN health care for America Now. Do you know how much money is involved there and what the hell they're spending it on?
I saw Washington Post estimated over 50 million spent total thus far, both sides. A lot on television, even though many listeners may feel they're not seeing ads. It depends where you live. But really bombarding television ads and then some money on the ground for getting people to events. And HCAN's got staff on the ground in different places. And if you have staff for several months, then you got, you know, salaries, benefits, the whole thing.
It seems like a boondoggle. All right, you know, look, I've seen what, for example, what the Progressive Change Courage Committee, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. The PCCC, Adam Green, and Stephanie Taylor's group, I've seen what they do all the time, right? They're on the attack. I never see what HCAN does. I bet you right now 99% of our listeners who are very educated and are following this stuff, they don't even know what HCAN is. What the hell is it?
They go to meetings, man. I mean, that takes time. Meetings in D.C. take time.
What is HCAN, Ari?
You know, I think to answer the question, it's an umbrella group with healthcare policy advocates, progressive groups, and some labor money that is designed to actually pass the bill that Obama wants, and that's the rub. It's a group that's been set up more to block and tackle than to throw big passes or make big pushes. And so it's not a place, and this is part of the point that Gans was making, it's not a place to really strengthen this project. It's a place to just say, hey, check in with the White House and figure out what they want to do each week.
Okay, but what is, I love blocking and tackling. I love the fundamentals. But what are they doing? What are the fundamentals? What are they blocking? Who are they tackling?
Well, they tell you, look, they got people on the ground going to these town halls, doing the stuff in August that liberals weren't as excited about. We all know it's easier to organize around stopping something than doing something, and the conservatives had that going on at these town halls. So they would say they were getting people there, they are organizing, they are doing letter writing, they are trying to have meetings in Congress and have an antidote.
I don't see them. I don't see them, man. I saw a lot of crazed Republicans at those town halls. I didn't see too many of the HCAN guys. And look, the problem is that it seems like they're stuck in the old way of doing things. And then when we get to Obama, the criticism is even more correct, if you ask me, because that's not how he won. He won by being an outsider and saying, I'm going to take these guys on. You know, he roars like a lion during the campaign, and he comes in and he's purring now in the White House. How is he taking anybody on? I don't see it.
I think that's right, and I think that there's a larger mood out there that is very angry with the moneyed establishment, and this could have been, from the get-go, a fight about taking them on, not just whining about the economy and bailouts, which for many people are awful but feel like the past, but rather saying now we're going to take a sledgehammer to an industry that, just like Wall Street, pads its pockets rather than finding solutions for everybody. And that's why, guess what, a strong government option and a strong government oversight will help get you the health care you need. I mean, that's something that can resonate, and the polls suggest it resonates, but that's not the tenor of the fight we've seen thus far.
They might have even reached conservatives that way, because this is what I was just talking about in the last segment. If you tell conservatives, hey, do you think your politicians are bought off? They'll say, hell yeah, right? And then if you reach them that way and then you say, hey, who do you think bought them? The private companies with their lobbyists. Then you begin to even have a conversation where you're appealing to conservatives. But they haven't done any of that fighting. So, of course, that leads to the question, Ari, of is it on purpose? I mean, look, these guys, his former advisors, are coming out in public because obviously their private calls to the Obama people fell on deaf ears. Otherwise, they wouldn't write an op-ed in the Washington Post. And Obama knows how to win these fights. I mean, is he laying down on purpose?
I don't think he's totally laying down on purpose, but I think the ground is shifting. I think that you have a political wing in the White House that simply wants something passed. When they say we'll take anything, some of them mean it because they know that the foreign policy speeches and the other stuff Obama does doesn't get you reelected, even if it's the right thing to do. And an argument on the economy that says, hey, it would have been a lot worse, enjoy the jobless recovery, isn't a great reelection argument, and cap and trade doesn't make sense to most voters. So what you're left with is, we need a domestic achievement. It's got to be health care. We can't be stopped. And that means they'll take something watered down. So I think that's a huge part of it, which doesn't mean they always want to give into corporate interests. It simply means they may have a lot less fight in them for a certain proposal that's harder to pass because they want something to pass.
Look, that's one theory, and so I would call that the Rahm Emanuel theory. Right. You know, Rahm Emanuel just wants to win. He doesn't give a damn what's in the actual bill, right? Within bounds of reason. You know, I don't want to be too unfair to him. He cares a little, right? Now, but there's another theory, which is that Obama's not going to bring in all these private companies, which he did to the White House, and negotiate with them and come up with a deal, and then turn around and say, oh, by the way, I was kidding. I'm not going to do that deal. And those companies weren't going to do the deal if the public option was involved. So the other theory is, no, he never intended to do the public option, you know, no matter what.
Well, in terms of breaking news, we may get a real read on that this coming week because Politico is reporting just late in the day that Obama's aides are saying he's going to now give a bigger health policy speech that really draws the lines that people said he should have been drawing in the first place. Now, that's just aides leaking, and it may be trying to mollify, but it may be that they have woken up from this summer and from some of the pushback they're seeing from the allies like we were discussing and sketch it out. And I got to tell you, deal or no deal, I still have a hard time seeing how this president goes out and drops the public option because the votes may not be there from progressives, and they've got a wake-up call, I think.
Well, you know, we're talking to Rahm Emanuel from The Nation. Ari, we have about a minute left. I think the Republicans might have screwed this up. But because by making absolutely clear that they will under no circumstance negotiate, they've taken the cover away from the corporatist Democrats who secretly wanted to give away the public option anyway because of the money they're getting from lobbyists. And now that that cover is removed, it might be that the Democrats have no choice but to do the public option. Did the Republicans blow this?
I think the Republicans definitely made everyone dig into their positions, and in politics, angry likes angry. So they definitely went on offense for a couple weeks, but it really revived a lot of energy. What I'm starting to see, especially given this is a generally slow news period, a lot of energy among progressives. And in the House, you still have to get this thing through the House. And so all of that summer of anger may have taken us back to a party line vote that is ultimately better for a progressive bill with government involvement in overseeing a health care system instead of only mandating insurance without any checks.
All right. Ari Melber from The Nation. Thanks so much for joining us, Ari.
Thank you.
All right. Young Turks.